Some person, it's too dark for them. If you don't like that dark, don't read it. Don't say I didn't warn you. Don't say Giselle didn't warn you. I'm giving you a warning now. Hi wonderful people, and welcome back to my channel, Book Craze with Giselle. How are you going? What's the scene? Today I have some really exciting, entertaining books for you. We have a bit of the lighter stuff, a little bit of time travel, historical romance, and I also have some heavier, darker stuff. Taboo, thriller. You know your girl always have it covered with a dark book. But today, I'm going to get something nice and sweet. Something a little, nice and groovy. We're going to do that today. So let's get into this video. So you know what? I decided that I will start with the light stuff first before we get to the dark stuff. And when I tell you this duet is dark, it is dark. First up, I have a time travel romance for you. This is the first time travel romance that I'm talking about on my channel, and this book was actually recommended to me by one of my subscribers. Thank you for recommending this book to me. It was really enjoyable. It was definitely a page turner. I have not read a time travel book in some time. I really enjoyed reading this one in between all the dark romances that I have been reading. This book is written by Mariah and it is part of the Called by the Highlander series, and I love to read series. However, because this one book was recommended to me, Highlander's Love, I decided just to read this book, but I do think I am going to read the other books. So Highlander's Love, it's the fourth book in the Called by a Highlander series. First of all, it started off so exciting. It was exciting in that Amber, she's an officer in the US Army, and she's on the run for murdering her ex-boyfriend. Boom! That is how the story started. I'm like, what? And she ran to Scotland where she has some family. But the US Army, they don't play, right? So they found her where she was in Scotland, staying with some family members. And when they showed up, my girl started running, and she runs to an old castle which is known for in Scotland, and she meets some fairy, Highlanders and their fairies, and this fairy transports her to 1308. And guess what? She ends up in the middle of a battle. Like, how is that, running from one war to another? She ends up in the middle of this, and she is captured with Owen. And Owen, oh my god, Owen is known by his family for being irresponsible, for a good for nothing, and for not being able to make good judgments. So they are captured by the English. But the thing is, Amber, she's a black woman, and she's transported to Scotland in the 1300s. So Owen is seeing this black exotic woman, and obviously he falls for her. It's an interracial romance as well, and a historic, so it's like interracial, historical, boom, time travel, all mixed into one. So they are captured by the English. They are tortured separately. She's beaten really badly, and it takes a number of days for her wounds to heal. However, they didn't escape, and she had to pretend to be a man while they were running away from the English. They got back to Owen's family, and when Owen tells his family about what happened and what he discovered while being tortured, they do not believe him. And he goes behind his family back to notify Bruce, the King of Scotland during that time, of what he discovered. Eventually everything works out in Owen's favor. However, Amber felt as though she was running from her situation back in present day. So she decides to go back to her time and face whatever consequences that she would have to face. However, she did not give up because in fact she was framed for killing her ex-boyfriend. All of that was revealed and she made the choice to go back and stay with Owen. This story was so sweet, it was so enjoyable, it was definitely a page turner. And when Amber, before she went back to present day, when Amber gave up the cookie and gave up the nookie to Owen, he got up and he left. And he didn't want, although he was like really attracted to her, he felt as though his judgment was being clouded by Amber's and his attraction and his lust for Amber. So he decided, you know what, okay, let's separate, let me step back, focus on trying to win this battle, trying to win this war and prove myself to my family. And when Amber went back, he wasn't too sure if she would return to him, but she did, and it just made the story beautiful. Again, this is book 4 in the series, so you know what, there were other women from present day that did travel back in time during this period, because I think one of them are married to Owen's brother, so he knew about time travel and so on, and this fairy that was transporting these women to the 1300s. So again, this is, if you like time travel books, if you like interracial book and historical books, this is all mixed into one and you are going to really enjoy it. I loved it. The writing was really fantastic. I have no issues with it, and again, it was definitely a page turner. So give this a try, because you know what, I am going to read other books from this series. I felt that it was really nice, you know, in between reading all those dark romances, empty romances, as well as mafia romances, you know, just sliding in a nice, you know, sweet story. It did it for me. And I think, you know what, if you're like me and sometimes you just need a little break from those dark romances, this is definitely the book to go to. Next up, oh my gosh, this book, y'all, this book, I fell in love with this next book. The name of this book is Forever After All, and I have mentioned it on all of my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I fell in love with this story. It is so beautiful. It is written by Catharina, Maura. It's the first time reading a book by this author. Like, I saw this cover and I'm like, you know what, oh, this looks so nice, let me read it. And I was not disappointed. It is so sweet. Like, I have been coming on here and talking about some really hardcore, dark, MC mafia kind of book, but y'all, this one was so sweet. It was so beautiful. So the story follows Alexander and Elena, and again, it starts off with boom, in your face. It is a page turner from the first chapter. This story starts with Elena going out to celebrate her birthday, and she ends up bouncing up Alexander. However, Alexander have not seen her for a number of years, so he don't know it's her, and she never revealed her real name. Right? They talk, and eventually she had to leave because she got an emergency call, and that is how the story started. And Alexander is hooked. He's like, who is this woman? Like, I need to find out this woman. She gave her middle name, and that's all he had to be able to find her. Elena, she was called away because her mother was experiencing some difficulties. Her mother has been in a coma for a number of years. She's from a wealthy family. Her mom in particular comes from a wealthy family. When she got like her inheritance, all her money was used to keep her mother alive, giving her physiotherapy, although she was in a coma, right? But all that money ran out. The insurance policy, everything, it ran out, and she was left to sell herself or work at a gentleman's club. And there she was asked to do some things. However, Alexander, you know, he shows up and he's like, wait, aren't you XYZ? And she's like, yeah. He's like, what are you doing here? And because he was attracted to her, he was like, you know what, I have a different deal for you. And Alexander proposes that they get married. That way, one, he would be able to finance the care of her mother, which she desperately needs. And two, in order for him to take over the family's company, he needs to be married. So it was a beautiful marriage of convenience. And you're wondering, so where's Elena's family? Why aren't they supporting her? Well, the father got remarried. One, the brother wasn't really her brother, it was her stepbrother. When I tell you this story had twists and turns, it had twists and turns. Like there was this big secret that her mother kept, and eventually, because of the support of Alexander, things started to be revealed. They had the incident, or they had the car accident investigated, and they found foul play. So you had people being arrested, going to jail, and all of that. And believe me, Elena was shunned by her family. Like her father and her brother wanted nothing to do with her because they were involved in the accident in some way, or they did something that was illegal. And by Elena keeping her mother alive, that just left some evidence. The relationship between Elena and Alexander was off the freaking charts. It was hot, it was smutty, it was lustful. Like the chemistry between them, oh my god, it was hot. I'm just saying, it was really good. And I think that just made the story even more beautiful. Seeing their relationship grow, and then Elena's mom woke up, and then she got back all her family money, gained control of the company. So you know what? She no longer needed the support of Alexander, and seeing Alexander now have to work to make her fall in love with him because he had fallen in love with her. It was just good. It was just good. The amount, again, the twists and turns in the story and the story development, it had you turning the page. It had you turning the page. So this is definitely one of the best books that I have read this year. It is on my favorite list. So you have to look out for it for when I do the best books that I've read in 2021. Because this right here, this is good. If I'm talking about it all on my social media, then you know it had to be good. It had to be good. Next up, again, your girl like Taboo reads. So I read Aleatory by Xavier and Neal. Now this book was released last month, and it was sensational, right? It's a reverse age gap story. So you have Salone and you have Nyx, and Salone is 10 years older than Nyx. Oh my god. What I enjoyed about this book is basically the fact that Salone and Nyx's parents are really good friends. In fact, Nyx's mom is Salone's best friend. So tell me, what do you think about that? Salone being with her best friend's son. Told you it was taboo. Yes, it was forbidden. Yes, you have age gap, and you should definitely check out my review on Goodreads. Just putting it out there, check out my review. This story starts off with Salone just taking a vacation in a small town in Michigan. They are known for their apples. So Nyx is a real estate agent, so he finds this beautiful cottage for Salone to stay in while she is in Michigan. She realizes she's attracted to him and she's attracted to her. Yes, they hook up. She wasn't against being with someone that was 10 years younger than her. However, she was against being with someone whom was her best friend's son. And the fact is, she thought that being with Nyx would destroy her relationship with her best friend. That was her only hesitancy in terms of being with Nyx. But your girl couldn't resist younger flesh. No, she couldn't resist younger flesh. And when they hooked up, it was so good. I love this story. And Salone mouthpiece, the things that this woman says, she don't put water in her mouth for no one. No one. She says what she has to say, and she don't care what she has to say. Age, it's just a number. Next was a bit sometimes immature because he was doing things in order to get Solon's attention. However, this did make the relationship that they had have some bumpy rides, but he wasn't like totally immature. However, sometimes his approach was sometimes immature. Did this take away from the book? No, it did not. It didn't. In fact, I think it made the book even more enjoyable to read because it was so life, like real life. Yes, I know it's fiction, but I can definitely see someone who is younger and may be intimidated by someone like Solon because she is a renowned and a well-known international writer or author. She also helps in terms of producing TV shows based on the books that she have written. So she's well known, she's famous. To be in the presence of someone like that can be intimidating. So I can totally get why Nyx reacted that way. And being in a small town, they had to keep that relationship under wraps, and trying to keep it hidden and a secret in a small town, it wasn't that easy. It wasn't that easy. It was definitely a challenge. And to keep it from her best friend, like, you know, if you're with someone, you want to tell them, you want to spill your beans to your best friend, but she couldn't because it was her son. You should definitely read this book. It was so good. It was so good. I don't have anything against age gaps. I love age gap romances. This reverse one was done well, and it was definitely done tastefully. Like, some people can write an age gap romance and it just like grosses you out. No, you didn't have that. If it's an age gap romance you're looking for and you have never read an age gap romance, especially or specifically a reverse age gap, try this one. Try this one. It's not going to gross you out. Yes, it is taboo, but it's also so entertaining. It was so funny just watching Nyx and Solon interaction. And you know, there's always something so sweet about small town romances, like, right? Next up, and this is the dark one, right? This is the dark romance that I was talking about earlier on that I just had to leave for last because this dark romance that I'm going to talk about, yes, there's elements of BDSM, there's elements of slavery, there's elements of sexual assault. The heroine, she was whipped. The hero was whipped. There were violence. There was brutality. There was betrayal. And you know, all these things makes for a wonderful, enjoyable dark romance. I think, is this the darkest one that I've read? No, I have read a darker romance, like, and it was hard to read. It was hard to read. So the book that I'm talking about, or the duet that I'm talking about, it's the Enslaved duet written by Giana. Darling, like, we know she's known for her dark romances. You know, she's known for those taboo stories, so this should not be any surprise. When I read Enthralled and Enamoured, I was blown away. I was blown away. It was not what I expected. Like, I saw different chats about it on Instagram and I decided, oh my god, I need to read this. So your girl got her copies on Kindle and started to read, not knowing, one, that it was going to be this dark, not knowing that it had these dark elements in it, but your girl enjoyed anyway. I enjoyed it anyway. It had triggers, so be prepared. Don't do like me and going blind, not knowing anything. Don't do like me. Be prepared for triggers. Some person, it's too dark for them. If you don't like that dark, don't read it. Don't say I didn't warn you. Don't say Giselle didn't warn you. I'm giving you a warning now. This book starts off with Cosime on her 18th birthday being sold into slavery by her father to pay off his gambling debts. That's how it starts. Like each one of these books that I've talked about, like it just starts off with a bang, boom, right? Boom. And this one started off the same way. It was between being sold or her family members dying. So she took the bullet, she went and she was sold to Master Alexander, and that's how the story begins. You know, sometimes with stories like that, the captive sometimes fall for their captorer, and this was no different. However, the captorer fell for the captive first, right? Because eventually they got married. They fell in love and they got married, and then on their wedding day, Casimir was beaten by her father-in-law, whipped by her brother-in-law, and forced to leave Alexander. For Casimir, Alexander was her first because he did take that V card. He was her master, he was her capturer, and then he was the love of her life. So she was forced to leave, and that was the end of book 1. And then book 2, you see Casimir, although she no longer married to Alexander, however, she has to stay away from him because of the threat that is looming over. Alexander initially wanted Casimir because it was part of his plan to use her for revenge, because Casimir's father wasn't really her father. Her mother stepped out of, their marriage, but whatever, such is life. Alexander wanted to get revenge on Casimir's real father. But it turns out that his murderer, was actually his father. So there's so much twists and turns. You see Alexander trying to bring down the brotherhood because he was brought up in this type of cabal or brotherhood. And yeah, as the story progresses in book 1 and in book 2, you see why Alexander is the way he is. You saw how he was brought up by his father to be this type of individual. Like, what I enjoyed about this duet was that everything was explained. You weren't left not understanding something. You knew exactly what happened. You knew why Casimir behaved the way she did, why she did what she did in the book. And it's similarly with Alexander, like you saw other people. And Casimir was also mentioned in one of Giana's other book series, and it's the Evolution of Sin trilogy. So Casimir, she was mentioned there, and now she has her own duet. This book is definitely a thriller, romantic suspense. It has everything that you would want in a dark romance. For some persons, there were some things that disturbed them. So again, be prepared. Your girl wasn't disturbed. Like, I like it. Again, it is very dark. It is very taboo. It is very disturbing. For some persons, you have elements of BDSM, a rape scene. Again, some persons can't handle it, but I was fine with it. So definitely, if you are feeling for a dark romance, and you don't want to read like an MC or a mafia or something like that, and you want that type of scene where the person is basically starved and beaten and abused into submission, and she eventually falls in love with that type of behavior, with that type of interaction. If you're looking for that, then definitely read the Enslaved Duet by Giana. Darling, tell me, do you want some more nice sweet romances like what I spoke about earlier on in my video, or would you like some more dark romance like what I ended with? Have you read any of these books? If you have, hit your girl down below in the comment section. And again, thank you Fab for recommending that lovely historical time travel romance. Thank you for watching my video, and don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and hit that notification bell so you would know every time I post a video. And you know what, don't forget to share my video. You can do that, help a sister out. Thank you, and look out until I post another one.